Hey everybody and welcome to Chairman of the Board. Today I'm going to give my thoughts on Rising Sun by Eric Lang and CMON or Not. It's kind of an area control and negotiation style game set in feudal Japan. It's received a lot of buzz this year, so is it all style and no substance, and does it live up to the hype? Let's find out. Okay, so as I said in the intro, I'm not really going to go into much detail in regards to the rules because there are probably 1,000 videos out there that can do that better than me, but I'm just going to give my thoughts on my personal opinions of the game. So when this kind of came out on Kickstarter, I must admit I didn't actually back the game because I played Blood Rage, which was kind of Eric Lang's kind of, it's kind of his flagship game. It made him really, really popular. And I really liked the game, but it didn't blow me away. But a friend of mine did back this game, and I ended up playing it at a games club, and I was so blown away that I actually went and bought this straight away with all the Kickstarter exclusives, all the upgraded deluxe components. And I must admit, I haven't looked back since. I don't regret it for a second. It's absolutely phenomenal, this game. And I have to say that I am not like a mark for miniatures in games. It really doesn't bother me either way. Most of my top 10 games or even top 20 games don't even have miniatures. They're all kind of these Euro games that kind of depend on wooden blocks. So for anybody who says that fans of this game are just, they're just a sucker for the minis, they're wrong. And I'm a perfect example of why they're wrong, because the gameplay in this game is absolutely phenomenal, and I'll try and explain why I enjoy it so much. So first of all, this game uses one of my favourite mechanics, or several of my favourite mechanics in all games, and that's number one is the action selection thing, which is kind of made famous by games such as Puerto Rico and Twilight Imperium, where the player chooses a role and then everybody else kind of you get to take a certain action, and then everybody else gets a kind of worse version of that action. I really like that. It keeps all players involved at all times. Every decision matters then, and you're constantly engaged with the game. But this one goes even further, because you can actually forge partnerships with people, and everything you can do in this game is based on your way to communicate and negotiate certain things with other players. And forming partnerships is a really important part of that, because we can use each other to get more powerful versions of the actions, and hopefully, both benefit. And I really like that about the game, as constantly these partnerships are constantly, they're constantly changing between the players, and it's just got that real kind of feeling of intrigue to it. And that being said, there's so much depth to the rules that are kind of incorporated into those. I think it's only like 5 or 6 different actions you can take. You've got the one that lets you move your figures around the board. You've got the one that lets you spawn new figures. That might be the same one, I'm not sure. You can buy new cards to kind of personalize your own team a bit better. You can harvest from the land, which lets you kind of, if you're controlling certain regions, you get benefits such as money or points. There's loads of different things you can do, but they're all really tightly compacted into those few different mandates, they're called, or actions. And I really love that. It's just a great, smooth mechanism that more games could make use of. I absolutely love it. Something about a lot of area control games, kind of these war-themed games, I tend to not like is the dice rolling combat. And that's what kind of really made me love this game, is the fact that it doesn't use a single dice. The way the combat works is absolutely phenomenal, and my favourite thing about the game, full stop, is just the combat mechanics. It's brilliant. It's done on like a blind bidding mechanism, where you are placing your money on different actions behind a shield, and both players reveal simultaneously, and then actions are determined as appropriate. But the way it works is so tense. It's absolutely compelling, and just, it's fascinating. Even if you're not involved in a certain fight, it's just brilliant. The fact that you can, even before a fight can happen, you can commit seppuku, which actually means you are kind of committing suicide, and you get points, honor points that way. And it's just a great way, another great way of actually getting points without actually having to win the fights. And I love that kind of versatility. There's different routes of going. But the fact that you also have to win the fights in order to collect, it's got this kind of set collection aspect of it where you're trying to collect different tiles from each region, and you get bonuses depending on how many of those tiles you get at the end of the game. It's brilliant. Anyway, so let's go back to the combat. So you've got the seppuku, then you've got to take hostages, where if you outbid your opponent, you can take one of their models hostage, which means you're going to get more money going into the next round, which is going to put you in a stronger position. Then you've got the higher Ronin, which kind of throw in extra troops to the fight, and if you've gathered them throughout the round. And also you've got the Imperial Poets, which is a really cool concept, very thematic, where if you do bid the most on that particular section of the board, then you get points equal to the amount of models, full stop, who have died in that fight. And it's just brilliant. And the fact that the person who wins the fight gives all their money to the loser, it's just got this really cool kind of combat economy. And it's just really cool that you have to think about what you're giving to your opponent. Is he going to bluff and say that he's bidding loads just so he can throw the fight and get all your money? Or is it going to be an actual really tight fight? And the fact that you know the order in which the fights are going to, or different battles are going to happen in, you can be very strategic in thinking, I'm going to throw that fight so I can win this fight later. And it's just absolutely brilliant how all these different mechanisms just interlock, and every decision you make is very important. As I said, one of the actions is to buy new cards, and those cards are all really interesting, such as upgrades to your clan. You can hire these really epic monsters that come and fight for you. They're all very unique, have different abilities. Some of them are just absolutely fascinating. Some of them kind of build towards certain strategies. So at the end of the game, for example, you might get more points depending on how many strongholds you have on the board. And if you get a couple of those cards, you can get some really good multipliers. Everything about this game is absolutely phenomenal. It's almost like this game was tailored to my needs. I just love everything about it. It's so smooth, it's simple to learn. The honor system is very interesting. Basically, there's a separate kind of table in the corner where if you're higher up the honor track, you're going to break ties with people who are lower on the track than you. But certain monsters have synergies with being high or low on the honor track. And there's another section of the board, like apart from the actual combat like map, you've got another section of the board where all the gods sit, and you can place your some of your troops on those areas, which let you get other certain abilities, such as gaining money each round, or having an extra move, or even shooting to the top of the honor track. Absolutely brilliant. Loads to think about, but without being too overwhelming here. And it's just got that perfect balance of feeling so epic. I mean, it does feel like a really epic game, but without being bogged down in all kind of niggly rules. And I love that about Rising Sun. As I said, this game isn't all style and no substance. Every decision does matter here, and the mechanics are really, really good. The fact that all the different clans are so very different, all have unique abilities. You've got the Dragonfly clan, which can fly all around the map without having to take certain routes. You've got the Turtle clan, where their strongholds actually fight and move around the board. Really awesome. One of the clans even lets you choose which mandate you have each round without even having to look. So they're really worthy partners, and the fact that you can use your abilities as leverage to determine your partner for that round is really awesome. Yeah, all the clans are very, very cool, and in my opinion, they are very balanced. I've heard a lot of people say they're not balanced, but honestly, if you play this game well with any clan, you're going to win the game. So I've played this game several times, and I don't think the same clans won twice, so that goes to show. And we're all very high level players, so that goes to show how good the clans can be if you play them optimally. Yeah, really like the balance. There's very tight games, not too much of a rules overhead. I mean, everything just makes sense. The game takes probably, it's going to take a good few hours to play, especially if you're embracing that kind of negotiation aspect of it. But the investment you're going to get in relation to the amount of fun you get back. So the time investment compared to the fun is top notch. Honestly, this game feels like it should be like hours and hours and hours and hours, but it's just a couple of hours and you do get that big game feel out of it. So for me, the time investment is absolutely top notch. Player uptime is also really good. You're always interested in what everyone else is doing, because as I said, when they're playing their actions, you're going to get something back out of them. And you're always going to have a vested interest in what everyone else is doing. You're never going to lose interest in this game. You're always engaged, always compelling, and it's just an absolute blast. Replayability, unbelievable, especially if you've got all the Kickstarter stuff. You've got all the different cards that you can draft, different sets, so you're never going to get the same game. You've got all the different clan abilities. You've got different setups depending on the players, so certain battles aren't going to be fought each time, so you're going to have to move around the map differently. You've got different gods you can bring out. It's just unbelievable, the amount of versatility here. You're never going to get the same game twice. And even if you do have the same setup twice, the game is going to play out very, very differently, depending on partnerships and the actions people take. Awesome, absolutely awesome. Player interaction here is a real key to the game. Especially if you want to take it to that next level. I mean, you can really just play this game on, face value alone, or you can go that level deeper and try to really make the most of the negotiation. If you don't come into my region, I'll give you a certain amount of money. If you team with me this turn, I'll give you a certain amount of money. And it's just the fact that the game does kind of completely advocate that kind of behavior. It says, this is all about negotiation. Do what you can, it's all part of the game. And that gives players a real freedom of, expressing themselves and communicating in ways and just interacting in ways that go beyond the game itself. And it's absolutely works a treat. Aesthetically and component-wise, I think this game has to be probably the best production of all time, maybe. Honestly, it's faultless. It's a work of art. When it's on the table, it is just absolutely stunning. The miniatures are just faultless. Absolutely incredible. The artwork is all stunning, but yeah, if you've got the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, I mean, it's immeasurable how good quality this stuff is. I mean, the strongholds are all really beautifully sculpted, like kind of Japanese buildings, and you've got even the markers that form your partnerships are all really nice thick plastic things that lock together like a yin-yang. The models are absolutely like almost Games Workshop quality good. And you know how much those cost. These ones, you get a whole load of them in the box. And, the value you get here is just immensely good. So, this game goes a lot beyond the aesthetics and the components, which a lot of people would argue. But honestly, the game itself is better than the actual components, and those components are perfect. So that's how much I think of this game. It's just the way it looks and the quality is just a bonus. It's like the cherry on top. It really is like a real visual masterpiece, and the fact that some people do really depend on that visual side of things. If this was a bunch of cubes representing your soldiers and that, players like me would be satisfied, but I have friends who really do rely on that kind of visual appeal. And without that visual appeal, they might not enjoy it as much as they do. And that just, why not make the game as beautiful as it can be? And to me, the game itself, the mechanisms, the components, it's just all a perfect blend. And it's really, really well done. And it's just, honestly, it's incredible. Theme here is really cool. There are a couple of little things that you think that doesn't really make sense, such as kidnapping, 300-foot monsters. But other than that, everything just works really well. The way the combat works is great. The seppuku, the war poets, the way the honor system works is all very, Japanese kind of orientated. The board is beautiful, very Japanese feel. Honestly, it's just the way the game feels, it just embeds for the theme really, really well. I just love everything about this game. It is unbelievably good. I think, well, in fact, it is definitely my current number one, knocking games that I absolutely adore off the top spot. So it is, you know, if you do have all the exclusive stuff, it does take a while to set up. But honestly, a lot of people will say like you really need that kind of Kickstarter exclusive stuff to get the most out of the game. And while that might be true for kind of players who really want to play again and again and again and again, if you just get that base set, the retail version, it's brilliant. You've got so much game in there for the price. You know, it costs about what, £60, £70 to buy that retail version, and you've got so much game in there. You've got different setups. You've got loads of different monsters. You've got you can play up to 5 players, or if you do have the expansion, 6 players. Yeah, again, there's more expansions you can add into the game. I've done a couple of reviews for those, so check those out. I got the Monster Pack and the Kami Unbound. There's also a Dynasty Invasion, I think it's called, which actually introduces another 2 clans, all with brand new abilities, unique miniatures, and even introduces new monsters into the game as gods instead. And there's just so much you can tinker with, so much variability. This game is it's unbelievable, almost perfect for me. I cannot actually find fault with it. That's how much I love it. It'll be interesting to see if I played this, another 10 times, if I still feel as passionate about it. But honestly, it really kind of bugs me a bit when people say this game has no substance. It really does. It has everything you'd want. Well, for a player like me, it has the look, it has the gameplay, it has the engagement, it's fun, it's compelling, it has the auction aspect of it, the blind bidding, it has the action selection. Every decision matters, and that's what really does make games important to me. So if you can't tell, I am really advocating this game. I think it is out of this world good, and I can only say it so many times. I'm just trying to be enthusiastic about it because I love it. So those are my thoughts on Rising Sun. I'd love to, hear your opinions of this game because I've only ever had really good experiences with it. Always good to get other people's opinions, but I hope you've enjoyed the video. I love talking about this game. I love showing new players this game because they're always blown away just how fun it is, but also obviously how stunning it looks. Yeah, that's Rising Sun. So I hope you've enjoyed the videos. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.